oppressors in Syria are doing right now. Allah subhanahu, it's not hidden. It's not hidden from anybody what Bashar al-Assad and his father had done before that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware, and everyone is aware of what they did in the past. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware about what they did in 1982 in Hama, when they killed over than 50,000 people in 2 weeks. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of what's happening right now in Syria. The past 2 weeks, 800 people were killed. Civilians. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware about all the mothers who lost their children. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware about all the men who lost their dignity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware about all the women who were raped. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware about all these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never forget. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade oppression and injustice. And He emphasized its prohibitions. He said, Ya ibadi, in a hadith Qudsi, He said, O my servants, I have made oppression unlawful for me, so do not oppress one another. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ittaqu dhulma, beware of oppression, beware of injustice, فَالظُّلْمُ ظُلُمَاتٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Oppression will be darkness in the last day. Oppression will be darkness in the last day. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when the people, when the Muslims who migrated to Abyssinia came back, he asked him, tell us about the most strange thing that he's seen there. Hadith in al-Bukhari narrated by Jabir radiyallahu anhuma. He said, Ya Rasulullah, while we were sitting, an elderly nun from them, she was carrying a vessel of water. And a man came behind her and he pushed her. She fell on her knees and the vessel broke. She stood up and she said, سَتَعْلَمُ غَدًا يَا غُدَرْ سَتَعْلَمُ غَدًا يَا غُدَرْ سَتَعْلَمُ غَدًا يَا غُدَرْ. The time will come. The time will come for you, O oppressor. The time will come for you, O traitor. The time will come for you when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the feet and the hands to speak. And you will know my state and I will know your state in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فقال النبي صدقت والله صدقت. She has spoken the truth. By Allah, she had spoken the truth. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam warned the Muslims and the Sahaba from being oppressors. When he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen to teach people about their religion, he gave them a lot of advices. And before he was heading out, he said, Ya Mu'adh, one last advice. اتقي دعوة المظلوم فإنه ليس بينها وبين الله حجاب. Ya Mu'adh, beware of the supplication of the oppressed one. Nothing can stand between it and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he used to do the same exact thing with his governors. He used to tell them about the same advice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of everything. If you an oppressor, if you're oppressing your wife or your child or your parent or anybody else and you think you'll get away with it, just remember one thing. That person that you were unjust, unfair with him is standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the night complaining about you to the Lord. I want you to imagine this. someone, his forehead in the ground, crying from injustice, crying for the oppression, complaining about you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Baramika, they were a family at the time of Harun al-Rashid. They were given a lot of power. They were given a lot of authority. But they misused this trust. And they became oppressors. They oppressed people all over the Muslim lands. When Harun al-Rashid became aware of that, he put them in prison. And their leader, Yahya al-Barmaki, Khalid ibn Yahya al-Barmaki, was placed in prison along with his son. And his son told him, Ya Abati, look at our state now. Look at our state now. After all this power and all this authority that we have, now we are staying in prison. We're staying in prison after all this power we had before. قال يا بني إنها دعوة مظلوم. Oh my son, it is a result of a supplication of an oppressed person. We neglected it, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't. Beware of the supplication of the oppressed one. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu was appointed by Umar ibn al-Khattab as a governor for Kufa in Iraq. The people in Al-Kufa complained to Umar ibn al-Khattab, the prince of the believers, about Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. They said he doesn't know how to pray. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab appointed Ammar ibn Yasir, and he sent a group of investigators to investigate in the claim. And he said to Sa'd, Wallahi ya Aba Ishaq, by Allah, O Aba Ishaq, you are trustworthy and truthful for me. But still, I have a complaint. So when Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab sent a group of people to investigate in Kufa, everyone spoke good about Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas except Usama ibn Qatada. And he said, إِنَّهُ لَا يَعْدُلُ فِي الْقَضِيَّةِ وَلَا يَمْشِي فِي السَّرِيَّةِ. He never went out with the army. He never judged with fairness. He never divided treasure with justice. And Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas said, Wallahi innaha lakadhib.